on your playlist.
I had us muted there. All right. And we're back. And in what seems like a blink of an eye, it's been 2 weeks. I can't believe it. I really feel like we just ended our last conversation here, but here we are.
It's been a busy 2 weeks, hasn't it? There's been some developments. Yeah.
It has been. And we have a lot to talk about. But before we start, I just want to share with our viewers something if they weren't here last week, just because I thought this was cool and kind of important. Tim shared with us some work that he's done at Amdia, the Amdia Universe. And, you know, you've seen charts like this from analyst firms, but what was just so, I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, but if you didn't see last week's stream, because just the one thing I do want to say about it is, it's not just that there's a cool chart. When you talk to Tim and you say, hey, the way our company works, we really do more audio than video or more chat than this or blah, blah, blah. You redo the weights and you get a totally different chart. Watch the video to see about it, but it was important enough that I wanted to revisit it for anyone who may have missed it.
Thank you, David. I think, yeah, I mean, the big takeaway there is that not all UC is created equal. There's no one size fits all. So it's very difficult as an analyst firm to take that general sort of midline step. But yeah, thank you very much for showing that off again. Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard for analysts and it's hard for customers. It'd be easy if we could just say, oh, this company's the best, use them. You know, McDonald's is the best. Well, no, McDonald's isn't. McDonald's is the best fries, but Burger King is better burgers. You know, and it depends on if you like chicken sandwiches, it's a whole new conversation. Right?
Or fish.
A little ad-libbing there. So let's get into the news. First, we had some news from Microsoft. Do you want to start us off with that?
Yes, certainly. So Microsoft have announced the general availability of their intelligent recap for meetings. So you may have seen it. It's been a long time coming. What Microsoft tend to do is they introduce the concept at various different events like Enterprise Connect. Then it goes into a limited beta, then public preview, then generally available. So it's very interesting that Intelligent Recap is now in general availability, and it's part of the Microsoft Teams Premium license. So it's not available as standard, but it is available in Microsoft Teams Premium.
I have a question about this because I clicked the link, I read the article, I looked at it, and of course this is the kind of stuff I love. You know, after the meeting, it says the to-dos, and not just that, it's intelligent. You know, this person's going to work on this, and that person's going to work on that, and they need you to work on this and that. But it didn't seem to have that Chat GPT magic that everyone's talking about. It didn't seem to have that natural language, personal stuff. It looked like, and not to say it's not good, but it looked like I did a review of something called Blue Jeans Smart Meetings 3 years ago. I looked at the video on YouTube. It's so long ago, my hair was its natural color. I mean, this is pre-pandemic. So we've had this kind of stuff, and I'm just a little confused because last week we were talking about, you know, Microsoft is leading in AI, and this seems like a little bit of a catch-up. I'm guessing they're going to add the Chat GPT stuff to it.
I think that is probably the intent. I sort of see what they're doing with CoPilot. I have a feeling that that would be a natural extension to this sort of area. But of course, there are other vendors. Other vendors' solutions are available. And of course, Zoom IQ, they've got that sort of AI smart companion. And I've seen sort of interesting intelligent recaps there, and the way in which Zoom IQ can help you fill in a whiteboard for collaborative meetings. I've seen intelligent recaps and being able to compose chats and things like that. So it's interesting. What is commonplace, though, is that this AI isn't for free. It's not going to be part of a native experience. It's usually going to be an add-on or a bolt-on license. So it's a shame it's not native within the solution, but this will be an add-on sort of license for most solutions, I think. So it's certainly there. It's certainly coming from many different vendors into different solutions, but it really does allow us to be more creative and save some of the time on some of the mundane work. So I'm pretty excited about the way in which the industry is going, and we've seen an example from Microsoft here. There's Zoom. There's other vendors as well. So interesting time.
It is an interesting time. Usually technologies are either it's just default part of the solution, like recording. Everything can record now, or it's something special that only a few vendors have. But this is so different and new and unique that it's at a point where it is table stakes. You have to have it. Everyone has to have it. But it's so new and cool. They're not giving it away for free. So everyone has to have it. It's table stakes, but it's premium table stakes.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I've let people are well aware of how I feel about avatars. I think they're great for webinars and fun things like that, but I'm not sure it's going to add any value to a one-to-one meeting or a team meeting. I remain to be corrected on that, and interested in people's feedback. However, this is something that I think is worth paying for, because it really does help you become more proactive. Much easier, and it's quantifiable, of course, because if it saves me 2 hours a week, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a week, then all I have to do is look at my hourly rate and then say, well, that justifies the uplift. And it's a very easy thing to be able to quantify. And who doesn't want to have more time back on their calendar to do more creative or meaningful work?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it might be hard to convince people, convince your company to take on the extra cost to try it. But if they do try it, they're not going to ever give it up. If you give them a free month, that's it. Maybe I'm hooked on it. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe they got me. But I really think this kind of technology, like you said, some of this AI stuff might be gimmicky. Last week I was putting Batman masks on you. That's not going to happen in a meeting, but it's fun and it's cool. But this is productivity. This is real value. And by the way, I just realized I did a bad job as a host of the show here. We have so much cool things to talk about. I should start out by doing the announcer thing. In this week's episode, because we have some cool things to talk about. We were talking about Microsoft. We still have some Microsoft to talk about. I briefed with the Pexip and Poly team, and it was really cool. They sent a team. There was like 6 people to help me understand their new partnership better, and I really get it now. So I'm happy to talk about that. I also did a briefing with Nureva, which is a company that's really cool and interesting and different. I've been wanting to talk about them for a while, so I want to share what they briefed with me. And I have some samples of new generative AI, we all love generative AI, that Photoshop is doing. So this is going to be a crazy killer episode. So let's continue on with the second Microsoft announcement. You want to?
Yes, so this is the ability for you to use a mobile device and scan a QR code to reserve a meeting room, which is really good. And I want more of this sort of thing. As a hybrid worker, I can imagine myself reserving a hot desk, for example. So I've seen Crestron coming out with new products that sit on the desk. You scan a QR code and you can reserve a hot desk. I have a feeling that this is going to be a new... And neat, of course, yeah. So I think this is going to be a new way forward. Instead of the old days of you having to type in your username and password on a phone, why not just scan a QR code and then reserve that unit, whether or not that's a in-room meeting sort of equipment, or whether or not that's a hot desk or whatever it is. I think this really makes life really useful and easy for the end user. So this is really good. I like this sort of breakthrough technology.
So many reasons to like this. I mean, not to be one of those guys, but there's still a little COVID out there, and I'd rather touch my own screen than touch a public screen in any circumstance. I've been a fan of QR code from the beginning. A little quick story, since we have so much to talk about. When I started Let's Do Video, my first business card had a big QR code on it. Because I'm like, I don't even like business cards anyway, and it's all on the website. Go to letsdovideo.com. That's how you find out about me. I just wanted to tell people that, but yeah, I got to give them a business card at a QR code. And it didn't work because at the time you needed that QR app, which was free, but you have to tell someone you need to download an app and point it at the phone, and I had to explain it. So the next version of my business card, I didn't do that anymore. It was a failure. David thinks this is going to work. It's not going to work. Now they did the one thing they needed to make it the default phone works. The default camera. You point your camera at it. Everyone knows how to do it now. Now it works, and now I get it. And there's some people out there that like make fun of, you go to a restaurant and the QR code is there, and it says, click the QR code. They're like, why don't you just give me a menu? First of all, they'll give you a menu, but I don't want to touch the menu. I'm one of those guys. I'll touch the menu. I don't care. But what if I was one of those guys? It's convenient. Yeah. It's nice. I like having menus on my phone. You know what? I love the QR codes, and I'm very happy that it's becoming commonplace in business.
It is. And if you look at the likes of Cisco Go, which is their sort of fixed mobile convergence offering, in order to enable users and provision users so that they can become, they can use voice features and use the native dialer on their phones. User activation is just a QR code that you scan with your mobile device. Microsoft Forms, for example, we use this to capture feedback on our practice. You can have a QR code that you link to and scan that, and you can just instantly go into a way of capturing feedback or producing a form. I think that QR codes are pretty much going to become more commonplace, but it's really great to have this as a way of reserving tools that we need for everyday work, especially in the hybrid workplace.
Oh, one great example, since a shout out to Poly, since I'm wearing their headsets. I don't want to touch it now because I don't want to mess up my connection, but the free 60 plus earbuds come in a case with a touch screen, and you slide it to look at different screens. The one screen does the volume, another screen does the connection. The third screen, it's a QR code. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And you point your phone at it and you get the other information. So the device itself, QR codes have finally come to their full potential.
I'm trying to. I was going to show mine
you
here.
got it.
And, I have. It's. Let me see if I can get the QR code up there. Yeah, so you get a little QR code displayed there, and it's great. I think anything that makes life easier for the end user is great.
One issue, and this is a David issue, but with the headphones, I need to remember to not have my phone connected, because in the middle of a stream, like right now, if someone calls my phone, I stop hearing Tim. But I turned it off, we're good to go. I like what you say. That's why we're here. So is that it for Microsoft? On to Pexip and Poly?
Yep, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about this last week, and in general terms, we like both companies. They have different strengths. This is a good partnership. But I met with the teams from there, and I was able to really dig in and understand it. And now it really makes a lot of sense to me. The question I was really trying to understand, which I now get, is well, first of all, for people who are just coming in and saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? There's a Poly Pexip partnership." Pexip, they have cloud software, and Poly does hardware. So is it going to be like Microsoft certification? Are we going to get Poly phones that have no? The Poly cameras, the Poly room systems, they're not going to have Pexip software in them. It's not like that. Poly's going to have its own service, its own video conferencing services that are literally just Pexip services. It's not they're buying the technology to come up with those stuff. It's the Pexip stuff, which is great, because for some reason the way Poly is describing them really makes sense to me. And it made sense when Pexip did it, but Pexip is always it's been in an established market. People have their channels. People are like, we're Poly customers. They go to Poly for everything. That's what works. And I'm spinning around, but that's why Poly needs a cloud story. Poly's always needed a cloud story. Poly had this great device called the RMX. I'd love to tell the long version of this story because it was so cool. But anyway, they had this thing before Zoom and Microsoft Teams that we used to make video calls on before there was a cloud. And when cloud came out, people went to Poly and say, "Hey, we use this for your video calls. What's your cloud solution?" So they came up with something called Clarity. It never quite caught on. And then for a while, Poly's cloud story was Microsoft Teams and Zoom. Poly was like, we make great endpoints, we make great devices, they're certified. Zoom loves us, Teams loves us. We work together, you want a cloud. So again, back to where I started, why does Poly need a cloud story? There's a few things that Zoom and Teams aren't great at. 3 things in particular. And Poly customers are saying, we have this need, and Zoom ain't doing it for us. We need your help. And Poly's like, what do we do? What do we do? And they were doing their best with it, but it wasn't their focus. It wasn't their thing. And Pexip was great at it. So let me bring down my screen here. So the 3 services, which I now really understand, 3 things that Pexip has always been good at. Starting at all the way at the right, the security stuff. Everyone's good at security now, but Pexip has had this, like, they've been leading in it for a while. There are analysts that are really, really good at just all they do is security, and I could have one of them on, and they could explain it better than I can. But I listen to them enough, and I believe them enough to know that what Pexip does is really special with security, and they have customers that use them because they kind of have to use them. So for Poly be able to offer that kind of offering for people who aren't satisfied with the security of the common services, that's great. That makes perfect sense to me. Also, interop. There's a lot of call them traditional systems, call them legacy systems. They're great systems. They're at 1080p. They work great. They're still out there. They work. We want to connect them to our services. It's kind of clunky to do that. There's ways to do it, but it's kind of clunky. Pexip is one of the kind of smoother ways to connect those systems. And some companies want their own kind of private thing. You know, they want, you know, if I'm Let's Do Video and I'm a big conglomerate, I might just want Let's Do Video service from my company. I might keep it all in my own house. A little private system like that, I shouldn't say little, big enterprise stuff. This isn't new. This is what Pexip has always done. I've just done a bad job as an analyst of communicating what Pexip does, and it's been hard to understand that. And it's the kind of thing where Poly customers already know they need it. You don't have to explain it to them, and they're asking Poly for it, and now Poly has an answer. This is just such a win-win-win for everyone. So I'm glad. I really appreciate the team for meeting with me, explaining it better, yeah. I'm just very positive about this. Anything to add? Any thoughts?
No, so it's all Poly Private Connect, PolyCloud Connect, Poly Fed Connect, all powered by Pexip. So it's clearly, you clearly understand that Pexip is behind it, but leveraging, of course, the great hardware devices and equipment that Poly HP provide.
And Poly is, you know, traditionally has been a services company. So it's not just that they're pulling the Poly name on this. Poly has more resources and more experience, and they start the customer relationships to do the customer service and customer support for these kind of things. Not to make it, you know, I don't want to make it sound negative. They could do a better job than Pexip of supporting the Pexip services. I think, you know, it's going to make the services better. It's a good one. On to our next story, which is, Nureva. I met with Nureva. I've always been interested with them in them. They're a very interesting company. They were founded by the founders of Smart. You know, when Smart came out, it was so new, it was so different, a different approach, obviously a different, you know, ground up new way of thinking. And Nureva kind of did that same approach to microphones. Their technology is just very different, very leading, and I think very cool. So I've been following them for a while, and they had an announcement. And to be honest, it was one of those press releases that come across your feed, and your eyes just glaze over because Nureva systems updatable through blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, they have some updates. But it was actually once I focused my brain and understood and met with the Nureva team and they helped me understand it. Not that it's not understandable from the press release, but just microphones and speakers, the basic hardware technology, we figured that out decades ago. I saw Van Halen in 1988. My ears are still ringing. All right, all right, we got this stuff right. The development is all in the software. The development is all in the IT. We're not changing the membranes of the fabric of the whatever of the microphone. I mean, I'm sure there's still, but for the most part, when you get a new webcam, microphone, you know, speaker hardware, you're getting better chips. you're getting better brains. So Nureva has designed their speakers, and they have those, those big, they're for room systems, big room system speakers, speaker microphone systems, to have like a removable little box that has all the brains in it. So you could just get a new box, and then you have a new board. You have a new sound bar. I said it's like getting a brain transplant. They're like, oh yeah. When I'm with them, they're like, yeah, it kind of is. They still have the same muscles, but now they have a new brain.
So it's almost like external firmware. Is that the sort of gist of it? It's
like but hardware. You do
right.
get a new box from them that you swap out the old box and put in the new box, but you don't have to get the entire new thing. It's just
got you, a new module. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So all new chips, all new software. It is their latest. So customers who like, oh, I just bought the old one 2 years ago, they have the new one now. They don't kind of have the new one; they have the new one. So I thought that was pretty cool. And while I met with them, I had a chance to talk with them about their technology, and it's pretty cool what they do. I don't want to give the whole long version of it, but basically, when we talk about meeting equity, the first thing that comes to your mind is camera angles. That's what everyone talks about. I might not have this set up right. I move some things around, but from home, right? This is the way I look when I'm on Zoom at home. This is the way you look on Zoom or Microsoft Teams at home. And in a meeting room, everyone's tiny, meeting equity, blah, 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 get the sizes right. Well, what about audio? What about audio? You have a microphone right in front of your face. I have a microphone right in front of my face. In a meeting room, do we all have microphones right in front of our face? Right? So audio equity is a thing too. And the solution that we've been doing, we've tried a lot of different solutions. Drop down mics in front of everyone, little mics in front of everyone. One thing we've been doing is beam forming. Forming is very, very cool. It's a magic invisible beam that goes across the room. And if you're in it, it's like you have a microphone in front of your face. And it's not perfect, but it's amazing. And some people criticize about it is, well, what if I'm not in the beam? Well, you figure that you configure the beams good so that the people are in it. You could fix that. But what people don't say is, what if something is in the beam that I don't want to hear? The great thing about this microphone is I don't need a lot of noise suppression software because it really only picks up this little area. So, and I made this demo, and I made this demo because it's a good demo for Nureva, but I'm also showing off the same NVIDIA AR technology that I showed off last week, this plugin. Only a few people even know there's an update to this plugin. I don't think a lot of people could do this, but it's like you have a magic microphone in front of your mouth, but it's only in front of your mouth, and when you move, it goes away, and a new one pops up. Getting a little close to you here. Wherever you go. So you can see that the concept is it's different than a beam that is just the beam. And if the beam's getting the air conditioning, you get the air conditioning. You could noise suppress it, but then you have to noise suppress it. This is just wherever you walk around, there's a magic microphone right in front of your face. So I think Nureva is cool. I wanted to share that. And I wanted to show off, come on, I'm sorry. I just love showing off my new tricks.
Do you remember, was it Dolby Voice? Blue Jeans teamed up with Dolby Voice to give those spatial speaker. They had this sort of spatial speaking capability for Blue Jeans that have now obviously been acquired by Verizon. But I remember that being absolutely mesmerized by that, because you could hear in your head with the headphones, you could hear different people coming from different areas. It sounded really, really good. It's a shame that hasn't been resurrected, because as a concept, I thought that was fantastic. I'm hoping that microphone beamforming and spatial audio starts finding its way back into the meeting rooms, because that, coupled with multiple camera angles or smart AI directors that cut away to different video images, I think that'll be really powerful.
That absolutely blew my mind. They demoed it at, I don't remember if it was Enterprise Connector Infocom, one of those, but they had a demo room set up, and they brought me back there, and I was prepared to not be impressed. I'm like, oh, it's gonna sound a little louder in this ear when it goes to the left. It's gonna sound a little louder in that when it goes to the right. I've heard stereo audio. I have a Pink Floyd album. I'm not gonna be impressed here. And they started walking around the room and talking, and I'm like, what is happening to my brain? What is going on here? It was wild. And uh, it's one of those things where, again, it's kind of on the fence. Do we want it just because it's cool, or do we want it because it really kind of, the more you feel like you're there, the more immersed you are, the more productive the meeting is. I mean, it did add to the reality of it. I
Yeah.
don't want to say that I just like it because I like it. I want to say there's something real there.
Well, I think what we're finding here, David, is people start making as these sorts of work styles are becoming more crystallized. We realize that, hybrid's here to stay. So whether or not you're in the office 1 or 2 days a week or 3 days a week, you want to have the tools that you have at home in the office. You want to come into the office for a reason. You need to justify the commute. You want consistency of experience or equity of experience. So I think all of these technologies will see a resurgence in a lot of them, and all really to make life easier and better for the employees. So that's fantastic. I can't wait to see what this landscape is going to look like in the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, I love the fact that flex workers, whatever you're calling us these days, we're getting all the love. It's about time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so on to our final story. This is cool. When I heard Photoshop is, I thought AI is going to get rid of Photoshop. I'm just going to use some AI tool and say, draw me a picture. But Photoshop is getting there first. AI is making Photoshop better. And there's this generative AI thing. And I wish I could have gotten a video clip. I have some pictures to share with you, but I should have got a video clip because with some, for years you could do, for decades, you could do anything with Photoshop. And I've always loved these YouTube videos where they have a 3-hour or a 5-hour or 10-hour time span of someone working on Photoshop and making a whole scene and all the magic they do. The demo of this, it happens in seconds. You point at the picture and you type at the bottom, put tree here, big tree. And it's crazy. But one of the things it does is it's called generative fill. If you Google generative fill, you come up with a lot of examples. And let me zoom in on our screen here. What generative fill does is you can give it a picture and say, zoom in, zoom out, give me the rest of the picture. So we have our classic, we've all seen this a million times, moonshot. Hey, David Danto's in the chat. Sorry you're late. No, appreciate you being here. You can catch the replay. We said terrible, terrible things about Poly. No, just kidding. We talked about the Poly Pexip partnership in detail. The team gave me a great briefing, and you could watch the replay. But glad to see you here. What we're talking about now is Photoshop's generative AI. You put in a picture like this, and then you just type in zoom out and fill in the rest. And you could, add more text, and it'll do based on what you tell it to do. And this is what it got. Now it's only as good as what it's told to do. So why is there an atmosphere? It should have been told that this is on the moon or something. Where's the spaceship? There's a lot of weird stuff about it, but it kind of works. And some are better than others. Here is obviously Iwo Jima raising the flag. I think this was just kind of told to, and I wish I knew what the prompts were. I really do, but I don't. But if you told me this was the real picture, I think I believe it. I mean, there's nothing too weird or AI about it. Some are more weird than others, but that one, this one gets a little weird. This picture we've all seen a million times, D-Day. And when they zoomed out, first of all, I love the mood. I wish I could do everything without any Adobe products, David Danto. Yeah, David Danto saying he saw some examples, wish he could do it without Photoshop. Yeah, Photoshop's hard, but it was amazing how quickly these were done. And the soldiers, the way they're lined up at the right is kind of weird. This is a weird one, but again, it's surprisingly good considering how quick it is. I always love this picture. I heard Einstein hated this picture. He just did it on the spur of the moment. Someone said make a silly face, and everyone made such a big deal out of it. But it added a whole person. And she looks kind of real. It's not too creepy valley. It's really crazy. I only have a couple more. I know I'm dragging this on, but I'm just so amazed by this. Oh wait, that's oh, this one. I've always been fascinated with this picture. This child's eyes are so just amazing. And it looks a little computery. Yeah, it looks a little clunky, but at a quick glance, it looks like a zoom out. And last one, and this is the weirdest one, but it might be my favorite. I've always just loved this picture, this whole vibe. It's so New York. I can hear the accents that these guys have. I can hear it in their voices, and what it did to them. And I've seen a zoom out of it at some point, and it was nothing like this. This is weird. The skyscraper is modern. It doesn't look structurally sound, but it did it, and it did it in seconds. So I am just absolutely fascinated by this stuff, and it's happening so fast that I can't even say, like when we first started talking about it, it's like, oh, so where's this going to go? I think it's going to go here. I think it's going to go there. I don't know. I thought I was going to get rid of Photoshop. Now it's looking like it's going to make Photoshop better. I will be in Orlando, Dave, and we should definitely hook up. Tim, unfortunately, will not.
No, but I'll tell you where I am. Next week, I am at Adobe's Digital Experience Summit. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they're doing in the digital workspace arena. And I shall certainly see if I can get to play with some of this generative AI Photoshop stuff. Hopefully I'll get a nice corporate photo that artificially inserts hair for me or something. I don't know.
But, I don't have that set up again.
Armani suit. Yeah.
I had that button last week.
Yeah, it's been, as always, it's been another busy week in the industry. Some really exciting developments. Obviously, AI seems to be riding a big wave here, but we are seeing some of its oh good grief, potential being coming out in market now. So intelligent recaps, those sorts of things. Obviously, noise reduction. We've seen some interesting things happening with NVIDIA. So this stuff is becoming real. So yeah, fascinating to keep an eye on what's happening.
We're going to have to pay close attention to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is doing some cool stuff in our space. A lot of it seems like it's stuff on the other side of my world, on the Twitch streamer fun stream side of it. But I think some of it's got to make its way into business presentations, video, business streaming. It's powerful, powerful stuff. And just the stuff they've been doing for years, like we said at the beginning of the stream, is so much better. I was using NVIDIA's background removal on guests like I'm doing on Tim for years, and it was not this clean. All right, is that it for the week? And it's a Friday. Wow, this is a long stream, but it feels like it was quick. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, a lot to say.
Oh, I was thinking, we went too fast. I went too fast for everything. I didn't spend enough time. It's only been 20 minutes. It's almost been 40. Oh no, wait, we started 15. Okay, it's been a half hour. That's a perfect stream time. Oh.
There we go. Well done.
We're getting good at this, Tim. We're getting good at this. All right. So looking forward after I get back from Infocom, looking forward to hearing your coverage of Adobe. If anyone at Adobe is watching this, if I said anything negative, it was just because I wish I was better at Adobe products because they're so powerful, and I'm so frustrated because I'm so bad at them. But anyway, have a great week. And anyone going at Infocom, I'm very easy to spot. I'd love to chat with you. Come up and say hi. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone.